students of Reddit, what's your well that happened moment in the classroom? In high school physics, we were waiting for the teacher to show up, and another physics teacher from another class comes in with a bowling ball and says, "Do you guys think I can dribble this?" Everyone just kinda looks at him incredulously, and he begins to repeatedly and heavily strong arm the bowling ball into the floor hard enough for it to rebound high enough that he can keep the momentum going. People start to laugh, but then after about 5 or 6 bounces, the ball splits in half as it hits the floor. He quickly scoops up the halves, holds a conspiratorial finger to his lips, and shuffles out the door. About 15 seconds later, our physics teacher comes in, looks at the few dusty chips of bowling ball on the floor, and asks what was all that noise. "What's this mess on the floor? I feel like a bowling ball being thrown that hard would almost certainly break whatever floor it was being thrown against. Concrete poured on a proper base with vibration will withstand a bowling ball. This feels like the mundane version of jet fuel can't melt steel beams. Bowling balls can't crush concrete poured on a proper base with vibration built in." At my school we sometimes have drug dogs come and check the lockers. They always announce it like teachers, "Please do not let students leave the classroom for the next bit of time." Everyone knows what it means, and one kid in my class grabbed his bag and jumped over 3 desks and ran out the classroom. Turns out he was an entrepreneur of sorts. He was merely holding inventory for his small business. Good to see kids taking such initiative. He will go much further than just 3 desks in his life. Guy with anger issues started yelling at the teacher and then slapped her across the face. Keep in mind this fat kid was huge and the teacher was this old tiny Asian woman. The nicest guy in the class smokes the guy with a sucker right hand and just puts the guy out cold. I would pay to see that. You'd pay to see a small old Asian lady get attacked? You monster. I'd pay to see a small old Asian lady get something involving a monster. Boy, do I have a genre of porn for you. When I fell asleep in the first row, and the professor and the other students started clapping to wake me up, and when I woke up I also started clapping like a moron. My history teacher in high school would keep lecturing and start drawing with the whiteboard marker on kids that fell asleep in his class. One time he managed to color half of a kid's face before he woke up. There was a guy in my high school physics class who fell asleep almost every class. One time, the teacher popped a balloon while this guy was asleep and didn't wake him up. A few minutes later, we left the room to go do something outside, some demonstration involving water, and when we came back, the guy who was sleeping was gone. Spooky. This guy regularly went to the bathroom with 20 to 30 minutes left in class and didn't come back. He probably just did that again. That's just training for the workforce. 2 things you need to know. First, there was this guy at my school whom I've now known for 25 years. His thing is to scream freak yeah at everything. Has done it since I've known him. Anytime someone mentions Matt, someone always adds a freak yeah. He is huge and very loud. When he comes in the bar he announces his presence with an exuberant freak yeah. If he calls you, you say hello, and he yells freak yeah. You get the picture. Second, my senior year it was a thing to sneak vodka into school in Cinnabon mugs. For some inexplicable reason plastic Cinnabon mugs were like a huge thing. Sashaying around flaunting your Cinnabon mug rolls eyes. Anyway, I'm in a post-lunch class one day and one of the Cinnabon vodka girls up and starts puking bright, hot pink, fruity vomit out the window behind her. Then she stood up and screamed WHOOO freak yeah at the top of her lungs with her face covered in puke. Freak yeah dude is also in this class, so he immediately screams freak yeah back. Then she yells freak yeah again, and they go back and forth yelling freak yeah, getting progressively louder with each one, until the teacher gets to her and ushers her out of the room. The rest of us just sat there like WTF was that all about? Edit, Golden Platinum, freak yeah. This wasn't my class, but was the talk of the school for a while. A well-liked teacher gave her class a free workday and offered to play some music. Upon opening her iTunes, she found a file named Transformers MP4. Curious, she opened it. It turned out to be hardcore porn that blasted through the entire class at full volume. Panicking, she couldn't figure out how to shut it off, so she ran the laptop, open and still blasting at full volume down the hallway to the office to reduce exposure to students. It turns out, the superintendent's son used one of the shared servers to browse and download the video, so it was accessible by every computer connected to the school network. The superintendent resigned a couple years later. At least it wasn't a Michael Bay movie. If I were caught enjoying a Michael Bay movie, I'd just switch the tab to porn. It's much easier to explain that way. This happened like 2 to 3 semesters ago at my college. I was in finance class, about 10 minutes from it ending. It was around 2:30, and I had to work at 4:30. Planned on hitting the gym between. Typical day was getting ready to go by drinking my pre-workout in the last 10 minutes of class. Well, turns out someone had a different plan. We get an email that the school is in a legitimate lockdown. There's a questionable man on campus with a tactical vest and large backpack walking around campus. Oh boy. So here's the reactions to this information. 50% of the class immediately panics. No idea what to do. Huddles in the corner texting their loved ones. One chick bawling her eyes out, making all of the noise, puked in the corner. Sick. Foreign exchange student whips out his laptop and starts a League of Legends game, getting visibly agitated at it in the back of the room. Freaking Yasuo, am I right? Teacher breaks a piece of metal off the vent and stands by the door, prepared to what looks like kill Julius Caesar. Professor in the adjacent room, connecting door, walks in and explains that we should all calm down because worst case scenario is we die and we get a cool plaque with our name on it in the hallway. This does not help the students already having anxiety. May I note, I'm over here, phone dying, absolutely yeeted to crap on pre-workout with the inability to expend this energy, wondering if I'll get fired for a no-call no-show, and feeling 99% pissed rather than scared. Look to the left out the window, swat him on the roof. .jpg. Had this sketchy man came into our room, I'm of the utmost confidence that he walked away without harming a single human. Simply because it was apparent that God left this classroom long ago and we were in more hysteria alive than dead. Anyways, 2.5 hours later, I'm able to call my boss after we were allowed to leave and tell him that the kid who got reported is simply a student going to class and had a big backpack. There was no vest. The student who reported him had already gotten in trouble for trying to start a racial conflict a week prior and just had an agenda to push. The amount of pissed I was immeasurable. In a full auditorium, a random guy from a higher year entered. He yelled, "Ladies, this one's for you," and then proceeded to take off his shirt and trousers, his boxers still on luckily. He then flexed his biceps and did different poses in front of hundreds of students sitting there not knowing how to react. He then left, saying sorry to bother you to the lecturer. Oh well. Apparently he bet with his friends to do this for 3 troughs of strong beer. So at my high school graduation, all girls school, 2 boys from the local boys school ran onto the stage in masks and trench coats, stripped to the blue speedos they were wearing, and shouted "Welcome to the real world, ladies," and ran off stage. I only recognized one because he went shirtless at ultimate frisbee practice a lot and he had a significant amount of chest hair. Okay, well, that's some next level crap. A physics class in community college. Professor was explaining conservation of angular momentum and had a kid sit on a tall chair that spins. He then had the kid hold 2 books out with extended arms and then spin as fast as he can before telling the kid to pull the books in close to his chest. Think of a figure skater and how they spin really fast. The kid immediately turns into a blur and the stool/chair starts to tip slightly until it rockets from under him, like it was shot from a slingshot. The kid slams into the floor, as if he got chokeslammed, and his head hit the floor in a way that sounded like someone dropped an overly ripe melon. The look on the professor's face said, "Well, that was a good run. I guess I have to find a new career now." Kid turned out okay and everyone got a laugh, but it genuinely looked like I had just witnessed a death. The teacher probably thought I'm so getting sued. I like to imagine this is what those teacher training/professional development days are about. Okay, teachers, if it looks like you might have accidentally killed a student, it's crucial you crack a joke. If the other kids laugh, the victim, granted they don't actually die, will be peer pressured to treat it like nothing bad happened, and you'll save your career.